Good. Cool. Well, hopefully we don't have technical difficulties like we did with Jeremy the other day.
Yes.
Cool. We are live
We're live. Good
here
morning.
on the interwebs, on YouTube and Instagram, on our Facebooks and everything. So let's wait a couple seconds for some people to get in here before we really get off and going. Nikki, I was just talking to Scott, and he said that you've got some really cool, fun facts about you and your life. Do you know what he's talking about?
Oh gosh, I've got so many things. Let's see. Well, I am learning to play the bass. I don't have a lot of time to commit to it, but it is nice just to like go take a break from everything and just sit down and like meditate and be with that. It's very challenging, so it makes my brain work in a different way. And I don't know how to read music. I read tabs, but it's fun. Like I love music, so it's really cool to me to like challenge myself to play different things. And I try to start with like crazy hard things to learn, and I should just like do the basics. But um that's really fun. I as you know, obviously, a lot of my life is real estate, and I do own also a boutique management company. So that's really like a startup. We're about a year old, and that's been taking a ton of time as well. And I have a 14-year-old daughter named Maya, and she plays softball, and we're actually getting into paintball.
Okay.
So that's something like, from like the 2000s that would just what my husband used to play. And, as a family, we're like getting into that. So that's kind of cool. We're like for Christmas, we're getting all the gear, and we're going to go and play. Our family has a farm up in Virginia. And so that's like the perfect place. They've got like 50 acres, and we can just go and play and have fun. So that's kind of cool. What else? Just very much into trying to, stay as healthy as possible. I have kind of a crazy story of how I ended up in what I do now, but it's, my health is really number one, because if I don't feel good or I'm not healthy, nothing else really matters. So trying to always stay fit and eat well, and it's very hard, but having that balance, right?
Yeah. Do you feel comfortable sharing your story?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I will absolutely share it. It's pretty crazy. So I started in vacation rental management in 2005, and I was 17. I had graduated high school a year early. I really knew that college wasn't for me. I started doing like some online courses and going into some classes, but I was like, I'm just going to try this. And I was self pay. I was like, I'm going to pay for this myself. I'm going to see, if I get any value from college. Right. And quickly learned like I didn't, and I could teach myself a lot more. So I really was just in my career. And I started running a 132 unit vacation rental resort in St. Augustine Beach. And they were like all 3-2 condos on the beach. And they're all individually owned. And when I started, it was like an HOA ran vacation rental management program. And when I started, we only had like 10 condos that we would manage. And so it was really interesting back in the day, we're talking 20 years ago. Airbnb did not exist. We had VRBO, we had direct booking, and we had an office, right? And, even then, vacation rentals were pumping. Okay. Like it was crazy. Like people think that vacation rentals just came around like in the last 5-10 years. That's so not true. It has been a very thriving business for a long time. And so, I was really, I mean, I grew up in St. Augustine. The only industries were hospitality, medical, or the restaurants. And so kind of fell into the vacation rental world because of living in a tourist town. And
Mm-hmm.
it was great because that's where I got like hazed. That's where I got all the operational hard stuff, like dealing with cleaners, dealing with vendors, linen service, linen program, inventory, kicking people out, evicting people, crazy spring breakers, people that break in, people, I mean, like all the things that you deal with in the world now. Like I got to do that when I was like from 17 to 21, I did that. And it was heavily driven on relationships because it was a direct booking world back then. We didn't have social media. I think MySpace was just coming around like at some point in there.
Wow.
So I mean, it was very much like all the people that rented from us were people that I saw face to face every single year. They're coming back for their same week. The snowbirds, the spring breakers, or summer people. And so we grew the rental program from about 10 properties to about 100. So we had about 100 in our rental program that was ran by the HOA. And I was, single-handedly it was me and one other person. And we did it all really for the vacation rentals. And so it was very busy. And I'm very much a hustler, entrepreneur. Like I'm always, doing things. And so what happened was, Paige Hayes and like my designer, Teresa Siglio, and like all of them are going to love this. But I actually got into staging the properties as well, because what would happen is somebody would call and they would say, hey, like I need this, like I want to freshen up my property. And my neighbors are like remodeling completely. I don't want to do that, but I just want to be more competitive. And so that's when I'm like, well, I could do that. I mean, we didn't have Airbnb stagers back then, right? So I started doing that on the side at night. And we would literally redo the condos, freshen them up. I would rent a van, drive down to IKEA, bring everything up, and then we like redo the whole property and make it more competitive. So I'm running the property all day. I am at night hustling, redoing properties, working till 1, 2 in the morning. And, I was also at the time, it was not very healthy. So I was smoking cigarettes. I was drinking. I was partying on the weekends. I was not sleeping a lot. I was just going. Like I was just in go mode. I was young. I didn't really know that you had to like slow down and take care of yourself, So
yeah.
like
I remember those
I didn't know
days.
what that was, right? So it's a pretty interesting because I did that from when I was 17 until 21. And when I was 21, I was actually on property. And at that time we had like implemented a linen service and they had these linen bags. And I picked up like a couple of them. They were each probably like 40 pounds each. I picked up a couple in my right hand and one in my left hand. And I felt a pop and in my side. And I was like, oh, that's weird. I must have pulled a muscle. So I just keep going about my life and working. At the time, I was in pain, but I was just kind of like blinders on. I've got to work. I've got to hustle. I've got my staging to do in the evenings. I got to run the property in the day. I was just so focused and I was ignoring what my body was trying to tell me. And so a couple days went by and I couldn't breathe. I was hearing gurgling when I was breathing. And I had taken a whole bottle of ibuprofen in like 2 days. And I was like, what is going on? So I went to the hospital and I was like, yeah, I just pulled a muscle. They're like, no, your whole lung is collapsed and you probably have fluid in there. And I'm like, what?
Wow.
I just pulled a muscle. Like I'm still in denial. Right. And so what the result of that was I actually collapsed my lung. And because I didn't really attend to it, I ended up in a coma for 10 days. I spent about 3 weeks in the ICU. They told everybody to come tell me goodbye. And I'm 21 years old thinking that I literally just pulled a muscle, right? And it was just so crazy going through that and realizing like, wow, I'm just over here just hustling and not even paying attention to my body and my health. And I shouldn't be here today. Like they said, like she's dying. You guys got to come say goodbye. And to make it out of that and to come on the other side and know that like, first of all, I really did that to myself, right? And the second part is like, you have to slow down long enough to remember what's really important in your life. And you can hustle and make a bunch of money and, do great things and get all this recognition and help a ton of other people. But if you're not really helping yourself first and listening to your own body and spirit, all of that stuff is going to crumble. And so I actually left the industry for a while. And I went and got a cushy desk job. It was actually when the market had crashed. And there was no foreclosure department. I worked for a big bank that everybody knows that gobbled up a bunch of other little banks. So we actually launched the foreclosure department when the market crashed for that bank. And that was really interesting going through, like default mortgage servicing. And basically like my job was to foreclose on people. And that was really interesting going through that time in the world. And I was also working on my health. Yeah. Isn't that crazy? So I've started working on my health and, really put that first. I lost 100 pounds, got healthy, did some, fitness competitions, did all kinds of cool stuff. I actually did some coaching in that world for a while and helped other people also get healthy. And then I came back to vacation rentals. So about 7 years ago, got back involved into the vacation rental world and really started back into property management, and then quickly got my license after that because I was pretty much doing the jobs for the realtors. I was closing the deals for them, and they really didn't understand how to work with short-term rental investors. So that's how now I'm here, and have my own management company and doing real estate and short-term rentals. And I love it. I learned some good hard lessons along the way.
Yeah, it sounds like it. And it sounds like a lot of personal lessons more than even just work lessons. And I love that because you're balancing this thing that you love with being able to live a life that you love as well. And I know a couple of the things Scott told me was like you're learning how to play bass, but you guys play music as a family,
Yes.
right?
Yeah,
Together,
yeah.
which is so cool. And you're telling me about like we're doing this paintball thing as a family, and that's just so cool to me that, you've been able to bring it back around like that, and
Mm,
it's so inspiring, I think, to hear your stories. So thank you for sharing that with us. And
yeah.
we've actually got some people here sticking around and listening, which I think is really cool.
Great.
But yeah,
Awesome.
so let's start. We've just heard such a personal and deep story from you. Let's go a little bit superficial. Tell us who you are, where you are, what market you're in. You've just joined Savvy. We're so excited to have you. Just give us the like higher level now. It's so
Yeah,
interesting. We
sure.
went super deep, and then
We
now we're like,
did.
okay, let's
We
know her
started out.
name.
My name is Nikki. Hello. You guys know all about me now. So, but I hooked you because you're here, right? So I live in Palm Coast, Florida, which is just south of St. Augustine. Grew up in St. Augustine. I do real estate in Florida, property management here in Florida, and I just joined the Savvy team, like in October, right around the time of all the hurricanes that were going on. And I have been following Tyler, you, and Savvy for a long time.
Oh,
I think
thank you.
we briefly met at the short-term rental wealth conference, I think in February, like just passing by type of thing. And I've just been really inspired by the impact that Savvy has really created and the partnerships and the collaboration throughout the industry. So it's been so awesome. You guys are the most supportive, amazing team. I'm so proud to be a part of it. Very, very grateful for the opportunity.
Oh,
And
thank you so much.
yeah, yeah. And just every day my mission is like this. Number one, take care of myself physically, mentally, spiritually. And then number two, my family. But then number three is to help people who see the opportunity to build their wealth through real estate and like escape this rat race, right? Escape this, like, okay, a lot of my clients are like doctors and lawyers and CEOs and people that are working their butts off every single day and have invested heavily into themselves and their career. And they're like, okay, I don't see the end. Like, where's the end? I need to create a path for myself that's going to give me time with my family and,
Yeah.
give me, I got to do something like my money. I got to make my money work for me. I'm paying all these taxes. I need to shelter some of this money from taxes, and I need to create passive income so that one day I can retire and just enjoy my life with my family. So my mission every day is to help my clients do that. And I help a ton of people just start in short-term rentals. Love helping that first-time short-term rental investor, but also helping the seasoned ones. They keep me on my toes. So that's my mission every day.
Oh, that's really cool. I love that. Well, thank you for introducing yourself. And so everybody knows, and just so everybody really knows too, like what area do you cover mostly?
So I'm pretty much when you first get into Florida, like coming from Georgia, there's that Amelia Island area.
Mhm.
A lot of people don't know about that area. It's kind of like a remote, more luxury market. So it's kind of like a like a you go like the Omnis there, the Plantation, like it's a very upscale market, but it's very
Mm-hmm.
natural and kind of remote. So there's Amelia Island, and then you come into Jacksonville. Jacksonville is, metro, lot going on. There's also Jack's Beaches. So a lot happening in Jacksonville in the downtown area and the beach side. And then, when you get out of Jacksonville, you're really coming down into St. John's, into the St. Augustine area. St. Augustine's where I grew up. So I know St. Augustine. I'm actually from Jacksonville, but I grew up in St. Augustine. So I know Jacksonville, St. Augustine, that whole area like the back of my hand. And then just south of St. Augustine is Palm Coast, which is a pretty young and growing, rapidly growing city, and still on the coast. And then I also served Daytona. So, and all these places are like within about 45 minutes to an hour of me. So I'm in a very central area. Daytona's, got like the speedway and all the beaches and all the fun stuff going on there, and Bike Week. And I also know really well the Orlando market. My husband, lived in Orlando when we met, spent a lot of time there. And just growing up in Florida, you spend a lot of time in Orlando, right? Going to Disney and SeaWorld and Universal and all the things. So those are really my main areas. It's pretty much the whole Northeast coast. And then some people call Orlando Central Florida because it's not really on the coast, but that's my market.
Okay, awesome. Very cool. And you own short-term rentals in the area, and you manage a lot of short-term rentals in the area as
Yes.
well with your management company. So tell us a little bit about the market. Where should people invest? What sort of homes are they looking for? What has demand looked like since 2020?
Yeah. So in our market here, St. Augustine, Daytona, Jack's Beach, Amelia, all of those markets were already thriving vacation rental markets prior to COVID. And then when COVID happened, Florida was open. None of us wore masks or did any of that stuff here. So everyone flocked here because they wanted to still live their life. They wanted to be able to enjoy being outside and living life. So COVID really blew up our business, just like a lot of the other vacation rental markets. We had about a 65% occupancy prior to COVID. Now we're probably more like a 70% on average, some higher depending on the properties. But those are like the main areas. So it's really, Jack's Beach, St. Augustine, and then Palm Coast is growing, and like the Flagler Beach area, and then Daytona. And the type of properties that really perform here are condos is a huge part of our market. The regulations allow for almost all the condos that have been built in this market were built as vacation rental resorts. So you have a ton of like HOAs that are built for vacation rental. And, that's their whole purpose. People don't live in those condos. They're either second homes or they're vacation rentals. And those are really great. People love the condos because they can come year round, have the beach, have the pools, have the pickleball, the tennis, the, grill areas, the, shuffleboard. They've got like all the amenities there, right? And, those are nice because someone who's just trying to get in at a lower price point, you can buy something at a lower price point, 200, 250, 300, 350, and get something that's, probably going to get you about a 15% return if you run it well, 20 even. Those are definitely possible too. So condos are a big part. I mean, we have hundreds of condo complexes here. And then, so those are good. A lot of people worry about the HOA fees, but I explain it like this. When you have a home, you're going to have to take care of the exterior maintenance of your home. You're going to have pest control. You're going to have to paint. You're going to have to make sure your roof stays good, all the things. And HOA is really just doing that for the whole building, right? And, some HOAs have gone insane. The ones that are not ran well, it's really why you need to have an expert in the market. And do your due diligence and make sure okay, I'm buying one that passed all the architectural studies with the new codes, and they have reserves and the building's in good shape and there's not going to be a lot of assessments. So there's tons of those buildings here. So definitely very viable for condos in our market.
Very cool.
Yeah, those are good. They stay booked year round. That's really the beauty of the condos is you don't really have like an off season. I mean, you have a little bit, you won't have like 80% occupancy in hurricane season, but you'll have like 50. So you don't really slip below that 50-40 mark, 40 to 50% occupancy at all with condos.
Okay.
So that's good. Next, other properties, of course, single family homes. I recommend any property to have a pool. People come to Florida, they want to live outside, right? They want to be outside soaking up the sun. They want to be in the water. And if you're not directly on the beach or walking distance to the beach, which those are really the top performing properties, especially if you have a view, you need to have a pool. So even if the home's not with a view or on the beachfront, but it has a pool, it's going to do great, right? As long as you set it up well, you run it well, all the caveats, right? But pool homes just crush it because people can just come here, enjoy the weather, and have a private home and be in the pool. So those are the properties here that really pump.
Okay, very cool. So you've got all the way from Jacksonville and all of the kind of beaches, all the way down through the Palm Coast, through Flagler Beach, and all the way down to Daytona. What's the best
Yes.
beach area in terms of like where you can actually find something that's going to cash flow, that cash flows well, that's can be bought for the right purchase price, all that sort of stuff?
Yeah. Right now, that South St. Augustine and going into Palm Coast area is great. It's always been, it was before like very sleepy. And sleepy in that people didn't really know about it,
Mhm.
but, and there wasn't a lot of businesses, but now that whole area has started to develop. And there's still people that have lived there for a long time that have a lot of equity in their home that are selling their home for a fair price.
Mhm.
And you can negotiate a lot of seller credits and just pick up a good deal. So that South St. Augustine along the coast, and then going into Palm Coast and that part of the beach, that's a really great little spot right now. Um, the other area is whenever you're going into like Daytona Beach shores, that area is also is priced fairly well. And that's a great market. Daytona has so much to offer. So those are the areas that I'm seeing that really have some meat on the bone, where you can buy a property that's a super property that's going to really perform.
Okay, awesome. What does it take to be a super property in your areas?
So our area is not as competitive as some of the others. Like it's definitely, I mean, Orlando is. So we're not going to talk about Orlando because I feel like Orlando is its own thing, right? But
Mhm.
up on the northeast coast, it's really just starting to get a little bit more competitive in design, amenities, all of those things. So it's definitely not like the Smokies or your market in Western North Carolina. People, it's people that have owned vacation rentals for, I mean, 20, 30 years. They've had this home with their family, or they bought it 20 years ago and they use it as their second home, and they do vacation rentals. But a lot of the stuff is like dated and very like 80s, 90s, some even 70s decor. So to make it a super property, I feel like this is such a market that's like, it's so ripe. And me and my business partner, we're finishing now a huge remodel on a beach property that we picked up. And we made it all St. Augustine themed: lighthouse, pirates, beach. We really decked it out. We did the slides and the bunks and movie theater and all those things, right? With spa and pool and
Yeah.
great outdoor area. But a lot of the properties have not done that yet. And now some have. There are some, it's like I said, it's starting, but it's great because like you can kind of get in now and make it, if you especially if you're experienced and you know how to make a property a super property with great design, great amenities, you're setting it up for your perfect customer. This is a great market for that. Now,
Mhm.
Orlando, I really don't recommend anyone going into the Orlando market as a first time investor. Orlando is so competitive and you have to literally put $250,000 just in design to make a property stand out there. There's so many super properties that it's
Mhm.
saturated with super properties. It's good if someone wants Orlando as a second home. But it's not great for returns unless you pick up someone who's really stressed and they're like a stressed seller and you pick up a really good deal. But it's kind of it's definitely a tough market there. But yeah, the whole coast is ripe for someone to come in and make a super property with all the great design and amenities.
Got it. Awesome. So I have been, while you're talking, kind of popping through some things on AirDNA,
Mm-hmm.
and let me get this shared up here. Okay, awesome. There we go. We're looking good. Okay, so tell me a little bit about this. West
Yeah.
August. You're kind of on this like western part, but this is still like basically downtown St. Augustine, right? This kind of little area here where
Yeah.
most of these converge.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So
So,
that area, go ahead.
oh, I was just going to say, this is the best stats I've seen for the whole entire area. Everything is positive. Everywhere you look, the numbers are so, so interesting. So, tell us a little bit about this, and we can kind of scroll through this data too while you're doing it.
Yeah, so West St. Augustine is really interesting. So, St. Augustine has a lot of history. It's the oldest city in the nation, and that whole West St. Augustine area is, really starting to change. It used to be like the rough area of St. Augustine, but now, builders have come in and built these super cool modern houses. Properties have been being flipped. Families have been moving in. A ton of those properties have been transitioning into rental properties. The regulations are favorable. You can pick up a property for around 330, 350 there. No
Wow.
pool, but like a 3.2, and then you could really put that money in, and that property could definitely do 65, 70, 75,000. So you could definitely get like your 20% return on a property like that.
Wow.
And there's it's so close to downtown, so you're just a mile, not even from the historic area.
Mhm.
It's definitely a great area.
Yeah, so I mean, you're saying you can. So let's look at like, you can see my screen, right? So the
Yes.
secret pool cabana right here, it has a pool. Looks like maybe a little 3 bedroom, 2.5 bath. It sleeps 10 people. It's got a good amount of reviews, so we know that this revenue number is probably pretty accurate at this point. What do you think you can get this house for? Is this something you can get at 330 or maybe 400?
That one probably, yeah. That with the pool already, you're probably like around 450 ish.
Okay,
Let's see it. Yeah.
and this one's doing almost 90,000, which is really
Hmm.
good.
Yeah, you can definitely pick up something under 500 that you could, make a 90, 95, 100K property.
Wow,
The
that's
one
really
the
good.
one issue over there is you got to make sure you've got good parking.
Hmm.
The lot sizes are smaller, so you need to make sure that you've got room for that, which a lot of them do. But if you're gonna sleep 10 people, you really need to be able to park 4 or 5 cars. So that's something that we're always looking at, because parking in any city is always an issue, right?
Yep. Okay, that definitely makes sense. I love that they've got the puppies in here. That's so cute.
Yeah, St.
Um,
Augustine is this whole area is extremely pet friendly. So we've actually made like pet themed houses that have crushed it. And those are all the restaurants and beaches and bars and everything. It all welcomes the dogs.
uh-huh.
So we really go for that theme with our properties. And if it's just like a basic property that really doesn't have much to offer, I'm like, great, we're going full dog theme with this property because it's gonna crush it.
Wow,
So we
that's
do
really
help
cool.
our clients with like how to position, and stand out.
Cool. So this here is the historic. I've just clicked on the historic St.
Mhm.
Augustine, which obviously, as you mentioned, is the oldest city in the country, which is crazy to me. It
I
looks
know.
like larger places here definitely work really, really well. You've got
Yeah.
6 bedrooms doing about 250,000. Um,
Yep.
Definitely, it seems like a pool is almost a requirement, right? If you want to get to that sort of like
And
multi six-figure potential.
yeah, it's nice in the downtown area to have a pool, but there's a lot of homes, like you'll probably see the Pomar house somewhere here. Um, even if it's just a large home in the downtown area or even small homes, I mean, anything that's in the downtown area is going to do really well as long as you run it well, of course. But um, downtown is not so much required to have a pool, but it definitely helps because I'm going to book a house that has a pool every day over one that doesn't, right?
Yeah.
So those are going to be the ones, of course, that fill up first, and obviously have the higher average daily rates and
Yeah.
higher occupancy. So it's not required. It's definitely really nice to have.
So these properties that are doing about 150,000, anywhere from 130 to 180, what does it take to get something like this in historic St. Augustine in this kind of area here?
So the ones with the pool, you're definitely looking at probably like 1.25.
Okay.
So you gotta buy well. You gotta, there are some available. Like I have a listing right now. It's 1.25. It's completely turnkey, fully furnished in the historic area. Would definitely do 200 plus. It has a pool. And you can pick those up. So like they are there. My tip would be like you need to make sure that you try to negotiate getting it furnished if it's already furnished well, because then obviously that's going to save you a ton. Or negotiate. We've been doing seller credits, because this market has grown so much in the last 5 years. There's so many sellers that have so much equity.
Mm-hmm.
So definitely, negotiating those seller credits has been good. But yeah, you can pick up one nice 1.25 that'll do 200 plus in the downtown area.
That's great. Okay, so talk to us a little bit about Volano Beach.
Oh, Volano Beach. So that's actually where me and my business partner have one that I told you that we just finished the remodel on.
Mm-hmm.
And Volano Beach is great. So actually, this is where I grew up. And it used to be very sleepy. I mean, we had a gas station. That's like all we had back in the day. Now there's so much restaurants, and there's a Publix over there. There's all kinds of businesses now, and they do markets and events, and Wags and Whiskey, which is like a festival, is happening there annually. It's
Oh,
really
cool.
been thriving. Volano Beach is a a part of the beach that kind of juts out there. It's unique because you've got the intercoastal on the one side, so it's great for people who are boaters. And then you've got the ocean on the other side. But it's really unique in that it's so close to downtown St. Augustine. I mean, the house that we just finished remodeling, you're literally in downtown in like 5-6 minutes. So
Wow.
that's the St. Augustine is such a good market because you literally have the beach and you have the downtown, all the history and culture and art and music and food. And it's such a tourist destination all on its own.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why Volano is really popular. It's definitely pretty competitive. A lot of people have bought over there, but it's like 80-20. 20% of people are doing the short-term rentals well, and the other 80% are just kind of average, right? So
Just
there's
like
still room in
everywhere.
that market.
Yeah. But it's really interesting if you look at demand changing over time. I mean, look at the increase since 2018, 2019 up to 2024. And y'all, if you guys want to see this sort of data, you've got to subscribe to the advanced version of AirDNA, or you have to work with a savvy STR agent that's got this advanced version of
Yeah.
AirDNA that can show you this kind of data. So we have pre-COVID data all the way back to 2018. And I think what's really interesting here is you can see a really clear trend line for Volano Beach specifically. And so just like
Mm-hmm.
anywhere, if you pop around the area, you're going to see some cities and towns that are lower, some that are higher. And this is kind of what shows us from a micro level what's changing boots on the ground, right? That Publix getting added, and maybe some attractions, maybe some restaurants coming in. The booking demand in Volano Beach is up 8% year over year. That's really, really interesting to me, right?
Yeah.
And you can see a very clear trend line that it's continuing to go up every single year, just about the same amount. There's no huge spike or anything like that, but it is an area that's getting more and more and more travelers, more nights booked over pretty much the same amount of rentals. I mean, if you look, last year there was 610 rentals in summer. This year there was 660. So it's not even like there's huge increases in the number of rentals either.
Yeah.
So I find that really interesting. Average daily rates are up. Overall, the average daily rate for just the average property in Volano Beach is 100,000. So just imagine what it is for like a larger super property.
Yeah.
Revenue that listings are earning per month is up 16% year over year. So that's a really good thing. That means ADRs are up, occupancy's up, all of that sort of stuff. And then see what total market revenue looks like. Yeah, just again, another kind of clear trend line here. Every
Mm-hmm.
year, that total market revenue continues to go up to where this July, almost $8 million was spent on short-term rentals, where last July was 7.2. And then the previous July was 6.9, down to 5.7, down to 4.7. So a lot more money is being spent in this area. And overall, the metrics are pretty much across the board up. Got occupancy minus 1% year over year, but that's probably within a margin of error anyways.
Yep. Yep. Yeah. And that whole area of Volano, I mean, it used to be just people's second homes and primary residences, and there's really no condos there. It's all single family. So Volano is just very unique. I'm trying to think of like what to even compare it to. There's really not any market that I know of that's like that, where it's like you got the intercoastal, the beach, you've got, right to downtown St. Augustine. It's definitely popular, and it's you used to be able to buy properties really inexpensive over there. So that's why the people who are in short-term rentals have really started to develop that market, because honestly, nobody really knew about it 5 years ago.
Okay.
It's Volano was definitely, like I said, I grew up there, and it was just sleepy. I mean, it would just be me as a teenager at the beach surfing by myself, nobody to be seen anywhere. You know,
Yeah.
so
That's amazing. Some of these houses are really pretty and they've got kind of that like coastal vibe, but also mixed with like old world St. Augustine vibes. So I think it's really
mhm,
unique. And most of these properties are doing over 200,000 over here. Obviously probably a much more expensive market, but I also think that likely appreciation is happening here quite a bit.
it is.
And these properties will continue to get more and more and more expensive. But what does it take to buy a property over here? Is it 1.5 million, 2 million?
Oceanfront, you can buy right now. I've actually got some. If you guys want my VIP list of deals, I'll get you that if you reach out. But there's some oceanfront properties right now on Volano Beach for like around 1.5, 1.3. And if you did it right, those properties could do 250. I've
Wow.
even seen some of them doing 300 a year. So it's definitely, now there's some that are a little bit more expensive. I just looked at one that's like 2.25, and I asked the listing agent, I was like, how did you like, where are you getting this price from? It seems pretty high for me because there's really not comps to support that. But
Hmm.
that one, there are some that are still overpriced, but know that like just because the price that's listed does not mean that that's what you're going to buy it for. There's so much there's so much ability to buy properties for under what they're listed for via seller credits or just negotiating that price. So don't be afraid if an oceanfront property is listed at 1.7 and you're like, well, I know I could get this to do 275, so I really can only buy it at 1.5, 1.4. That's still possible, right? So like
Hmm.
don't rule it out, that those deals are there. The market right now is such a great time, because things have been sitting. Some people got into the short-term rental market in the St. Augustine area specifically, and just that whole coast that we've been talking about in COVID, and they
Hmm.
didn't really know how to do short-term rentals, and they're not performing how they want. But that doesn't mean that that property can't perform. It's just that people, back in COVID times, they thought that they could just go into short-term rentals and that it would just be a cash cow. And it's really not. It's a whole business.
Hmm.
So just because a property, is doing certain numbers right now doesn't mean that that's the numbers that you're going to be able to do. So always keep that in mind too, because a lot of these are listed as short-term rentals for sale. And I look at how they're operating and it's like, they're just not doing it right, or there's no right or wrong, but they're not doing it the way that's going to get the maximum revenue, right? So there's plenty of listings out there that are right for the picking. Like this property is for sale right now for 1.7. It's been on the market for a year.
This one is right here.
Yeah, that one.
Wow.
And I'm sure we could get it for less than 1.7. And that property could probably, with the right person, do 275.
Yeah. Yeah. I think I agree, especially if you just look at the photos. First off, like there's a photo of two bedrooms. Half the photos are like, like this is a terrible photo.
Yeah, it
This
wants
is
a
an
bigger street.
oceanfront property, and this is the 10th photo in line.
Yeah,
This is the ninth photo. Like this is just, it's really, really bad. This the whole room, I feel like could be done so much better.
yeah.
For an oceanfront room with beautiful blue water in the background.
Mm-hmm.
It's really hard to find a house like this for 1.7 anywhere else in the U.S. With so much potential. Like this kitchen just looks totally bare bones to me,
Mm-hmm.
especially compared to some of the super properties that you and I know can do
Mm-hmm.
really, really well. They should bring a wall muralist in here. This is the worst front deck I've ever seen for an oceanfront
I
property. Like
know.
this place can sleep how many people? Probably 12, 14, maybe
Yeah.
16. And there's room for four people to sit on the deck.
Exactly. And
And
that's
that's
what I
really
mean by
sad.
like our market is people that have been in vacation rentals for decades and they just do it how they've always done it.
Yeah.
And they're not keeping up with the times. They're not, doing the refreshes and making the properties more competitive. There's so much opportunity there.
What does the seasonality look like?
So that's great. I'm glad you asked that question because we have really good seasonality. The pretty much how the cycle works. Like right now, we're coming out of the slow season where we've seen about 40% occupancy through what we call hurricane season. So what happens is now we're going into the busy season. St. Augustine has the Nights of Light celebration. And obviously people come and travel here for holidays, bring their families, enjoy better weather and all that. So going into holidays, it starts to get really busy. And then in the winter time, we have the snowbirds. So people come from Canada, northeastern the United States, I mean, all over where it's cold, they come down and spend time in the winter so that they can really, get away from that cold weather and enjoy the sun. And so we have a ton of business in the winter. We stay very busy. It's people that have been coming here year after year after year after year. And those are typically longer term bookings. A lot of them will stay, a month, 2 months, some 3 months, some stay up to 6 months, and they pay a daily rate for their short-term rental. So, and those people like to come back every year, and they take really good care of the home. So the winter guests are great. And then we go into spring breaks. Spring break is great. We've got bike week. We've got all the spring break activities. We've got festivals, music. We've got all kinds of stuff going on in the spring. So spring is like great. So going into March and April, those are some of the best months out of the year. And then May can kind of be a little bit of a shoulder month because it's like after spring break, before the kids get out for school. We're a very family-driven market. And then summertime, which you'll have still about like 40-50% occupancy in May. But then into summertime, you are booked solid. I mean, the summer crushes it here, and everyone wants to be here. So, and then you pretty much, when the kids go back to school, mid to late August, and then like after Labor Day, it really slows down because people have traveled all spring and summer. Now the kids are going back to school. They know they're going to travel again at holiday. So like that time in between, and it's hurricane season. So September, October, and then part of November, those are the 3 lowest months. Hurricane season does kind of scare people away. For us, we're on the East Coast. We are not West Coast of Florida. I feel bad for West Coast of Florida, and I have friends there and always praying for them when hurricanes come. But the East Coast is we are impacted by hurricanes very differently because we are in colder water on the Atlantic compared to the Gulf. So hurricane season for us is usually pretty mild. We get a hurricane, just a lot of wind and rain. We really don't have much flooding unless you're like in a really, really low area. We get through hurricane season, and we still have people traveling here. So that's pretty much how the seasonality works for us throughout the year.
Yeah, very cool. Okay, awesome. Well, as you guys can see here, I'm kind of playing around with this custom regions, this new thing that AirDNA has released, where you can actually go in and actually draw what you want to look for, and it runs the stats in real time, which I think is really cool, because then you can really get a sense, like in a custom way, that this is totally what you're running. And so it's really interesting to me, I think, just going through AirDNA and kind of playing with, their features and how you can see things from an average point of view. We've got one listing here, and how that all works. I find it really interesting. We have a lot of fun kind of, seeing where we can find, little honey holes, and that's always been really interesting. St. Augustine Beach, overall, the numbers look pretty favorable. Overall, annual revenues up, average daily rates up, RevPAR's up, occupancy's down a little bit. That's probably due to some new listings to the market. What else? Is there anything else we should be focusing on here? Is there certain bedroom counts that work really well?
Honestly, all of them kind of work. It just depends on the budget and what you're looking to do, because like I said, the 1 and the 2 bedroom condos, those are great because they stay occupied year round, right? There's really no let up on those. You're at like 90% occupancy on something like that. On the beach side, especially, or near the historic area, or Jack's Beach or Daytona. I mean, all those areas do good with the small units because we have a lot of retirees that travel here and couples. So 1 and 2 bedroom condos do really good. So if you're looking at a lower price point, those do well. If you have, more capital to spend and you want something that's bigger, the bigger the better, and the more amenities the better, really, in this market. So because again, we are very family driven. And we have a lot of multi-generational travel. So the grandparents and the parents and the kids, they're all coming and staying together, and they really want to have everything at the home, pool, jacuzzi, pickleball, whatever, they want to have grill and outdoor kitchen and yard and all the things. So something that is, a 4 or 5 bedroom, those do really great with amenities too.
Yeah.
I would
So
say
I'm
that
looking.
3 bedrooms, there's a lot of 3 bedrooms. So, if you're going to have a 3 bedroom, it better have a pool.
Yeah. So I'm looking at 5 to 6 bedrooms right now for St. Augustine. And granted, there's only 37 listings here. So when, the smaller the sample size gets, the more big swings we're going to see. But this is a pretty interesting set of data. Annual revenues up 14%, average daily rates up 14%, revenue per available rentals up 12% year over
Mm-hmm.
year for St. Augustine for 5 to 6 bedrooms. This is really interesting, I think. And I'm going to bet that demand is up pretty significantly as well. Um, Length of stay is up 14%. Booking demand is up 21% for these larger homes year over year. And you can see really that it was very static. We kind of saw this in Asheville too, because there just was not a big availability of 5 to 6 bedroom or more
Yeah,
homes.
right.
Yet it seems like the demand really is there. If you look at March of 2024, 457 listing days booked, and then March of 2023, 313. So again, smaller sample size, but I think it's bodes well if you can find something that is a 5 or 6 bedroom in St. Augustine. It sounds like it'd be really interesting. Is that possible? Can you find something in this kind of area here
Mm-hmm.
that's
You
five or six
absolutely
bedroom?
can. Absolutely. Yep.
Wow.
There's definitely opportunities for that. We also have quite a few like new builds that are not being built in HOAs that are built on individual lots. Those are a nice little opportunity if you like new builds. And definitely builders give a lot of incentives. So, definitely a lot of new builds. And then, of course, all the resale homes. There's absolutely opportunity in that.
Okay. Very cool. Yeah. Amazing. I love it. Yeah. Here's an 8 bed, 8 bath for 1.9 million. That's pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
Even AirDNA says this is almost a 15% yield. It can do 270,000 in revenue. Do you
Yep.
think it could do more than that? Well,
I
I
think
guess
it could.
we'd have
I've
to
seen
see.
that my friends actually own that. They run it like a little boutique hotel right now.
Oh, cool.
I think it would be better ran as one unit instead of individual rooms. So yeah, that one's a really interesting listing. Happy to talk shop with someone on that one.
Yeah, this is really cool. 1.1 million. You've got the pool, you've got 2,400 square feet here. So it does
Mm-hmm.
seem like, yeah, here's a 5 bedroom for 1.5 million. Then this one does not look like it has a pool. But if
It
you
doesn't.
added one, how cool would that be? And
You have
now
the room
you're,
for that lot is pretty big.
yeah, really
That's a
cool.
pretty unique property there too. Definitely could have a pool in there.
Yeah, that's really cool. Okay, awesome. Well, I have got to run. I could sit here and do this all day long. This one is really cool too. 825,000. But look at the build is so cool. Oh, it
Mm-hmm.
says no short-term rentals there.
No, you
Well,
can.
listen.
You can.
Oh, that's
I don't
cool.
know why. Sometimes it pulls in weird
Weird
regulations.
data.
You
Yeah, because
can.
this one is literally on the same street, and this one says you can.
Yeah, you can.
Another reason that these data analytics sites are such a good thing for our industry, but it does not mean that they're always right.
Right.
This one is really cool. Look at that pool and the little pool house back there. That's really cool. Less than a million
Mm-hmm.
bucks for this. Okay, I'm gonna let you run, Nikki.
All
Y'all,
right,
if
great.
you guys want to book a call with Nikki, check out the link below. It's www.savvy.realty/Nikki, Nikkei.
Mm-hmm.
Or just hit up Nicole on Facebook. Of course, you can get in touch with our team anytime, and we can connect you as well. What are you get some parting words for everybody?
Let's just talk. Like I love just connecting with people, and just, starting that relationship. So, whether you're serious about buying right now or you just want to just kind of get some insight and connect if you feel called to do that, would love to do that. I'm never too busy for you.
Cool. Awesome. Thanks, Nikki. Really
Thanks,
appreciate your
Tyler.
time today. Good to see you.
Good to see you too. You guys have a great weekend. Bye.